Whiskey, you should never drink alone. Whiskey, you should never drink again. You're talking to your mic, acting like you have the right, but no one cares what the hell you're saying.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is I, your host, Mr. Sean, and this is a reasonable amount of whiskey ramblings. Today's reasonably sized whiskey drink is a whiskey and soda, and by that I mean whiskey with a splash of sugar-free grapefruit soda and the rest filled with soda water. I put up a vote on the channel, seeing what you guys wanted. The options were this, a manga review, creepypasta, or neckbeard video, and you guys decided to hear me ramble. So, I will not disappoint. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the social contract and how we all more or less put aside our values for the sake of our own convenience and comfort. To start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about my weekend. Now, this weekend, my wife and I went over to the movie theater to see the Blackpink concert video. She's a big Blackpink fan. I believe a Blink is what they call themselves. And at the theater, sitting next to me was I know also a Blink. This was a large man, definitely younger than me, so I would assume in his 20s, and I don't know if he was on the spectrum or his mental faculties were diminished, or if he was just crazy and delulu, but this person did not understand how to abide by the social construct. Even before the movie began, I knew he was going to be a problem, as he was kind of just ranting into the air about how much he loved Blackpink and how he was excited, and it's the part of me is yeah, this is a big deal for this guy, let him have his fun. But the other hand is we're in the movie theater and you're not talking to anybody, you're talking at the crowd at the movie theater. Shut the fuck up. Once the movie started, he was up, he was stomping around, he was screaming at the screen, he was so excited, and after every single song he was like, oh, that's my song, oh, I'm gonna die of happiness. And look, when you say someone with diminished mental faculties is annoying you, people think that they're annoying you because of their situation. But again, as DM Phil says, your mental illness or whatever is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And I'm not annoyed by this person because they're differently mentaled, but rather because they're being annoying in public and, doing away with the social contract. Now again, I chose the path of least resistance. I did not yell at this person. I did not diminish their fun as much as I might have liked to, as they were annoying the crap out of me. But I do have this idea that despite whether or not you are, even if you're unable through an inability, you are unable to abide by the social contract, that does not excuse you from the social contract. It's like ignorance of the law does not protect you from having to follow the law. Just because you might not be capable of abiding by the social contract does not mean you don't have to follow it. And if you can't, well, you shouldn't go out in public. I can't use my ADHD or Asperger's-like tendencies to, not have to behave when I'm out in public. And if I can't do that, and I don't think that I should, then I don't think other people should be able to use whatever the hell's wrong with them to not have to behave in public. And of course, you're free to disagree with me, but, nobody likes their good time being ruined by someone who doesn't know how to shut the fuck up in a quiet setting. And you can be mad at me, you can say I'm insensitive, but, put yourself in that situation. So let's see how you feel if you're trying to have a nice decent time at the movies and someone won't shut the hell up for whatever reason. Depending on the reason, you might be more frustrated than angry, but it's still gonna diminish your time. And that's why it's tolerance, it's not acceptance. You're allowed to get pissed off, because at the end of the day, our principles are all for sale. It's now August, but back in July, a lot of places put on clearance all the stuff that didn't sell during June for Pride Month. Now, personally, I'm fine with stores selling whatever they think is going to sell. It's selling stuff for Pride is really no different than selling, St. Patrick's Day stuff, Valentine's, Christmas, whatever. It's a celebration. These mega stores want to make a buck off of the fact that people are celebrating, and I'm fine with that. Not everybody is as cool with it. I, for one, think they shouldn't put that stuff on clearance. I think they should put it on queerance. But that's just because I love marketing. But before you, come at me with your pitchforks, I am an ally. I have a wife who is part of the LGBTQ community. I myself am a straight man, and therefore I am merely an ally. But, I get it. I get that people have this, they don't like their identity being commercialized. I hear it every year because Target, comes out with all this stuff as people say Target aren't real allies, that they're just pandering, that, they are just trying to make a quick buck. And I get that. But at the same time, knowing that, it can be hard to find some of this merchandise, especially the stuff that just isn't all the rainbow flag. There's a lot of flags in LGBTQ, and, a lot of them don't get nearly the representation that the people who identify with that flag would like. Most places it's anything for Pride, it's just rainbows. And Target has quite a bit of stuff, so they might not be real allies, but they're fulfilling a real commercial need. And as someone who is a devout follower of the isms of capital, I think that's great, because I certainly don't want to. I know my wife doesn't want to. I think a lot of people don't want to have to go all over town looking for the thing that, the perfect thing to represent their identity, when it should really all just kind of be in one place. That's what we're used to. So we will set aside the idea of shopping only at stores that are true allies for the sake of convenience. We all love convenience. At the end of the day, shopping at a slightly problematic store is no different than buying the generic brand of something when you wanted a specific brand because you don't want to have to go to another store. Now, you might be saying, Mr. Sean, this is a very pessimistic view. This is not the view of somebody who holds the world and his fellow man in high esteem, and I will tell you that I disagree. There is nothing pessimistic about being pragmatic and realistic. I don't believe the world is great, but I don't believe it's bad either. I believe the world is what you make of it, and the best way to make the best of the world is to value your time. When it comes to effort, you take the shortcuts where you can, and you save the big effort for the things that matter. A while ago, I found out all the terrible things economically that Dollar General does, and as a result, I have made an effort to stop shopping there because I don't believe in what they're doing. But at the same time, when there's one just down the road from my apartment, when I need something and I need it quick, like when we're making dinner and we realize we don't have flour or we don't have sugar or we need milk, guess where I'm going to go? I'm not going to drive the 20 minutes to the grocery store. I'm going to drive the 5 to get to the Dollar General and be back while my wife is still, making her part of dinner so that I can assist and make my part. Because while I do have my principles, sometimes I value my time just a little bit more than I do those. Because we all have our big principles and we all have our little ones. And I think deep down, how much we value those principles are to how much we can see the effects when we go against them. Let's go back to the subject of the LGBTQ community. Now, there are 2 stores whose owners have been more or less tied to anti-LGBTQ sentiments. And that is, of course, Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. And here's the thing, I know so many alphabet people who regularly go to both. And yeah, do they know that their money might be going to fund causes against their lifestyle? Sure. But they also know that those are far away from here. They're like, the idea is that, yeah, they're mad about it, but they're not going to see the results. They're not going to walk, it's not happening here in the Midwest. It's happening in foreign countries. And when you can't see it happening, you're willing to be a little more loose with your guidelines. I guarantee if those hate camps that the owners were funding were here in America, and you were seeing them, as you were walking down the street here in Ohio, I think the idea of whether or not people are willing to set aside their values to eat some fast food chicken or buy a semi-affordable crafting supply might be a little different. But at the end of the day, the things we value most is our convenience and our peace. if people can do whatever they want as long as they don't do it in front of you. When presented with the topic of gay marriage, my father said the big thing he didn't want to see was these, same-sex couples doing PDA in public, and to which my sister responded to him, "But Dad, you don't want to see straight couples making out or doing PDA in public." And it's like, yeah, he was like, I mean, that's a good point. He doesn't have a problem with same-sex couples. He has a problem with couples in general who are making out in front of him. My dad knows people make out. He's perfectly fine with that. He just doesn't want to see it. But, why is that? Like, why are our values negotiable? I mean, these are our values. These are the things that we believe in, the things that, the core beliefs that make us who we are. Shouldn't they be uncompromising? Honestly, I don't have a good answer for that. Like some of you listening, I too am flawed. I know you're saying, Mr. Sean, you're not perfect. I know, it's a surprise, but there it is. But I think to a certain point, all of us are willing to be flexible with our ideologies because we are asking the rest of the world to accept us just like we are accepting them. Despite what some people may rant in the churches or on the internet, I mean, ultimately, society in general is a massive compromise. I'm basically asking you to put up with my bullshit, and in return, I am putting up with your bullshit. And that's how we're going to get along until at some point somebody crosses a line that we can't look the other way anymore. And if anything, it's, society is getting more but less tolerant. We're getting more tolerant in that things that, people might be more or less offended by, but they're not actually hurting anybody other than maybe our sensibilities and causing us to risk breaking our pearl necklaces from excessive clutching, are becoming acceptable. This is, LGBTQ, this is swearing on television, even the concept of nudity, ultimately no one is hurt by these things. And so we're learning to kind of like, okay, I'm going to put up with this if I'm personally fine with all those things, but like people who aren't are putting up with it because, they have things that they're asking people to put up with. But on the other hand, we're becoming less tolerant of the things that actually do hurt people. Think the Me Too movement, think Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, think the fact that, it's not that we've ever really been okay with it in recent years, but the kitty diddlers are definitely like, people are like, no, absolutely not. And this is even going over into the anime community that, the anime people who once were all like, well, we're going to put up with everything because we're all outcasts, are now like, look, we put up with a lot. We're okay with big bouncing anime boobies, but you lusting over the characters that look like kids, that's a step too far. I don't care if she's a 1,000-year-old dragon, she looks like a kid. And I think that's great. I think that we're learning to tolerate the things that ultimately don't hurt us, and we're learning not to tolerate the things that hurt others. So maybe sometimes, we're a little bit morally flexible with the causes we believe in, but at the end of the day, I think overall, humanity is doing better now than it ever has in the past. That's really all I have for this part of the rant, and I do want to rant more, so I guess I'm going to break this up into different topics. So while I'm kind of switching gears, I just want to remind you that we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. At the time of recording, I believe we're at 935, which is nuts. Also, later this week, I'm coming out with the 60th episode of Lesser Known Lost Media, the show that really started to make this channel take off. Before I did my first Lost Media video, I was at like 50 subscribers, and it just that one just caused it to blow up. And we're about to put out the 60th episode. Can you believe it? So yeah, subscribe, like, comment, help this video get out, help all the videos go out. If you haven't liked any of the other videos that you've watched, go back and like them. Go leave a comment, and just help this channel get to as many people as possible so that we can get those subscribers. And hey, if you want to support the channel monetarily, be sure to check out the Patreon, consider becoming a YouTube member. I did recently get a $10 super thanks, which was awesome. Or check out eBay and Mercari for my various minis that I have for sale. But yeah, I think I'm ready now to start ranting about my second topic, which is video games. So, video games. And when I talk about video games, let me just put it this way. The consoles that I have currently are, I have a Switch, I have a PS5, and I still have all my old PS4 games. While I do have a computer, it is not a gaming computer, so I rarely play any games on that. So I will say this, I am not happy with the current state of games, but possibly not for the reason that you think. I know a lot of people out there on the internet are complaining that games are going woke and that they're like, desexualizing characters. And on the one hand, I'm fine with that. I think that characters don't necessarily need to be sexualized to sell a game. If for some reason it works, that's fine. But I don't play video games so that I can goon to the female characters, or the male for that matter. Though at the same time, supposedly some game companies are going quote unquote woke just to make up for the fact that their games aren't that great. I think the opposite also happens, where characters in games are sexualized to the point to just distract from the fact that, the game's not very good. Now, as much as I am afraid that I might be disappointed, I am super excited for Star Wars Outlaws coming out later this month. I even paid the extra money so that the girl that you play as can have Lando Calrissian's clothing, because as some of you might know, I love me some Lando. While I would prefer to be playing a game where I get to play as Lando Calrissian, I'll settle for his outfit. Now, every part of me wants to be super excited for this open world Star Wars game. Ultimately, like the first single player, really, open world Star Wars game ever. Jedi Fallen Order is great, but it is level based. Really, the closest we've gotten is like the Old Republic, which was fun, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't quite there. Star Wars Galaxies, I hear, was also similar, but I never got to play that one before it went away, so I don't know for sure. But as much as Mr. Sean wants to be excited for this upcoming Star Wars game, I've been excited for other games and been let down. And just so you know what got this rant started, I went to GameStop this weekend, and I traded in some of those disappointing games that, I was going to trade in 5 games. They only took 4 of them. The fifth game that they did not take was actually a good game. Spider-Man Miles Morales. I just beat that game, and I wasn't going to play it again, so I was going to get rid of it. But the other games I was trading in were games that were disappointing. And each of them was a game that I was kind of excited about and wanted to try and play. Now, in order of them being released, the first game was Gotham Knights. I actually bought that game when I bought my PS5, and I was like super excited to try and play it, and ultimately it was just a very generic game where there wasn't really a reason to fully play as all 4 of the Batman characters, and ultimately it felt like this game was meant to be played with other people, and that because of that, the single player experience was lacking. Next in the release order was Atomic Heart, which honestly looked really cool in the trailers, and don't get me started on the 2 quote-unquote sexy faceless robots. They were barely in the part that I played, but everybody was oohing and on over them. I just thought it was cool for like a Soviet-themed robot shooter. But ultimately, it was very, while the opening cinematic style stuff was pretty cool, once you really got into the gameplay, it was really generic, stupid. It was like it really wanted to be BioShock Infinite, and it just didn't quite make it. Third in release was, I believe, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And again, I was hesitant with this one, though I did pre-order it because it was from, it was from the same people that did Gotham Knights, and I was really hoping they'd learn from their mistakes, and I was excited to, play as this crew, but ultimately, again, same problem as Gotham Knights. It just did not feel like they really wanted you to play it by yourself, and as I have stated many a time, I am a big single-player gamer. And then finally, and probably the most disappointing of all of them, was South Park Snow Day. Now, I knew going into this game that I might be disappointed. They were definitely doing it differently than they had the Stick of Truth and the Fractured But Whole, in that instead of a side-scrolling RPG, it was going to be 3D CGI, and I assumed it would still be somewhat open world. I didn't know, but instead what we got was a level-based, more or less just fight your way to the end of each level. I don't know. The combat was repetitive. It really wasn't all that great, and I think it was the most disappointing because I thought going into it that it was going to be, hey, we're taking our games in a new direction and we're going to do a new thing, and that you'd be like controlling Eric and Stan and Kyle and Kenny and all these people. No, it was a direct sequel to the two previous games, but it was a completely different style of game, and ultimately it looked rushed. It was not good. And while, Atomic Heart was a shooter that just kind of fell short, and the two games, more or less were just a failed concept. Gotham Knights was a failed concept, and Suicide Squad was, equally just not great. So they clearly didn't learn anything and continued to make a subpar game. These were people that had made a great, fantastic game. Two fantastic games, mind you, because both the Stick of Truth and the Fractured But Whole were amazing, and decided to go out with and make more of this generic disappointment slop that, AAA games are quickly becoming. Now, I hear Starfield is great, but I have a PlayStation, so I can't play it. I wish I could. I love Bethesda games. I've been enjoying Baldur's Gate 3 and Spider-Man 2. Those are fantastic. But ultimately, while I do play those and I do enjoy those, I find myself playing way more hours into games from the PS4. Also, I am one of the few people that is still on my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate. I'm taking my time with it, and I don't know, it's getting kind of hard for me to keep going with it, but I am going to finish it, and I probably will play it again. But I've been replaying Fallout 4 even before the graphics update. I was still playing through. I love the new look. I love that it looks nicer now. I've recently started putting a lot of hours back into Far Cry 6, which is a fantastic game. I've also been playing a lot of GTA 6. I enjoyed that game. I have also been playing the PS5 version of Saints Row, but that is what it is. That one's also pretty generic and doesn't have quite the same zazz that previous Saints Row games had. But that's the funny thing, is that I have a PS5. I paid good money for this thing. And instead of always looking forward to playing games on this console, like all previous consoles, when you got the PS2, you didn't play the PlayStation games as much anymore because PS2 was better. When you got the PS3, you didn't play the PS2 as much anymore because everything on the PS3 was fantastic. Once you got the PS4, you put the PS3 aside, and all the Xbox equivalents as well go with this. But now I find myself going back to the last generation games because ultimately they don't feel old by comparison, and they're a lot better than the stuff that's coming out now. And while so many people blame the developers wholly for this, and it is partly their fault, they're the ones coming out with this stuff, I also blame both the companies making the consoles and also us, the player. Look, guys, it is no secret that inflation is a thing, and it's also really no secret that stuff is going up in price, and that we have less money for the fun shit in our lives. And because of that, we're buying less shit. And because of that, these companies are forced to they can't take as many chances. It's just like the movie industry, where we're getting more or less the same basic movie remade in a different place with different people, because that's what sells. And it's the same with games. We're not seeing new ideas. We're just seeing reskinned versions of what we already have. Or worst case scenario, a company that is developing a game will reskin that game or that show or whatever to basically be like, well, we're going to basically turn the game we were making into a what's the word I'm thinking of? Reboot. If we're going to turn our game into a reboot of another franchise, but it just feels hollow. Or companies are finally pushing through games that have been stuck in development hell and hoping that they won't repeat what happened with Duke Nukem Forever. I'm still one of the people holding out hope that the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is gonna be great and not a piece of drivel that is just, been in development hell so long that it's gonna be garbage. Supposedly, it's coming out later this year, and I hope to God that it is. As soon as it goes on sale, I'm gonna pre-order it. But, there were other games I was looking forward to, like, Skull and Bones and Sea of Thieves. I'm a pirate enthusiast. I wanted a cool pirate game, but I played Sea of Thieves. I did not play Skull and Bones because it got terrible reviews. And ultimately, if I want to play a pirate game, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which came out 2 consoles ago. But again, I'm not a pessimist. I want to look forward to things. I want to believe that these new upcoming games are gonna be fantastic. And am I gonna be disappointed? Probably. But again, I'm looking forward to Fallout 5 sometime in the next 10 years. I'm looking forward to GTA 6. And you know what? Ultimately, I want to love these games. Dynasty Warriors Origin has been announced, and it's been made clear that it's not Dynasty Warriors 10. That will be some point in the future. But you know what? I'm optimistic. I'm hoping it's going to be good, and I'm hoping Dynasty Warriors 10 is going to be fantastic. But at the end of the day, I am tired. I'm fine with games going up $10 in price. I'm okay with that. These games take forever to make, and they take a lot of staff and time and money. So yeah, if you want to change them from 60 to 70, go for it. But make them good. And no, that doesn't mean give the women in the game skimpier outfits and bigger boobs. It means make the gameplay compelling. Make me want to come play this game, because it's clear these companies have proven that they can. And the fact that they're not anymore sucks. Again, I am a devotee of the isms of capital, but I like getting my money's worth. And especially when that money doesn't go as far as it used to. And I guess that's the rant, guys. I mean, I've gone on for, quite a bit here, and I don't really think I have anything else to say on the matter. But I definitely think that we are living in a time where, while we are doing better as a people, we are more willing to make small sacrifices to our beliefs and our values out of convenience, due to the fact that there is not as much time or money to go around. In a perfect world, we would be able to live entirely by our principles, but we don't live in a perfect world, and so we make do with what we have, and we try to do the best we can. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures, and I sincerely hope that you drink responsibly, and that you alpha great day, and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the show, we hope you'll stick around. Mr. Sean is here to entertain the crowd. We've got a bit of everything, 'cause everything's allowed. Chimera Miniatures is here to stay, we hope we make you proud. Welcome to the show, we hope you'll stick around. Mr. Sean is here to entertain the crowd. We've got a bit of everything, 'cause everything's allowed. Chimera Miniatures is here to stay, we hope we make you proud.